So that said, um, Jack, Devil May Cry 5
Uh,
is one of those games that's best played with a controller, right?
yes, very much so. Do not play this on keyboard. I
Okay.
tried doing it, I struggled.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry 5. This is a game that I heard much about but pretty much ignored since this genre of game wasn't up my alley. The game is developed by Capcom, which is known for their other games such as Resident Evil and the Monster Hunter series, which, if you know anything about the latter, you know how their combat system works and how complex the combos can be, but more on that later. DMC5 is an action-adventure game with what I'd like to argue has a slight undertone of horror to it, given the absolute monstrosities of the enemies you're pitched against. It costs $30 on Steam and comes with the base game plus additional character Virgil, who, in my friend's words, playing as him at my first ever playthrough is a bad idea. The Steam store page recommends you have at least an i5 4460 processor, 8GB of RAM, and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 760, as well as 35GB of space on whatever you plan to store the game onto. That said, the game is quite taxing. Personally, my system is built on a Ryzen 7 3800X, 32GB of RAM, and a GeForce RTX 3080 Ti, all hooked into a 34-inch 1440p ultra-wide monitor, so naturally my intuition was to push the game to its absolute limit in terms of graphical performance. At 200% resolution, the game was eating up so many resources, my GPU reached 80 degrees Celsius and anything other than the game refused to run smoothly. I had trouble getting the task manager trying to find out how my PC was running. I think anything built on modern parts, so made in the last 2 or 3 years, should be able to run the game just fine. But be prepared to need quite the beefy PC if you want to completely max out everything. To summarize the game, you're plopped into the world as Nero and are faced with the predicament of the world in advanced stages of being overrun by demon monsters that at this stage appear to be attacking indiscriminately at whatever's in their way. You are thrust immediately into what initially seems like an apprentice master story, where Nero, who interestingly enough is missing his right arm, seems to be attempting to keep up with Dante, but eventually learns that he's in dire need of assistance and is unable to save him, and is stopped by V, another character who, in my limited time playing the game, wasn't able to find out much about him. I didn't play far enough into the story to get further details on what happens next, but eventually Nero gets his arm back from his partner Nico, who seems to be a tech expert, and immediately has it ripped off by a mysterious demon who appears outside of his garage, randomly teleports inside, takes his arm, and leaves. I'm sure the story is pretty good, but I haven't gone far enough to experience it for real. The combat system is a bit complex. There are many different ways to string together combos and many different abilities that you can do with that combo. To give you an idea of just what we're looking at here, I was given a choice between about 6 different moves I could use straight away. The artwork and UI are really clean and presented quite well. They fit the theme of the game pretty good given the type of game being played. Not to mention the soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal, getting you hyped to play the game pretty much immediately. To give you an example of this, going into the opening cutscene, I immediately decided I was going to deafen from my Discord call and was presented with this. Win score works in the game is directly tied to the combat. The number of points you accumulate on a given level is directly proportional to how insane your combo is, as well as the number of things you kill in the process and the number of red orbs you collect. I don't recall having access to a game manual, and there weren't any bugs that I encountered during the gameplay, just me getting used to the control, so probably human error. The game is actually quite fun. Tethering around from enemy to enemy on one level to slashing another up into the air, shooting it while you yourself are floating on another level is quite refreshing and entertaining. The game is fast-paced and the controls, while complex, do seem intuitive most of the time. It's easy to get used to them. Other than that, it's just an enjoyable experience being able to watch the cutscenes. That said, what isn't fun is, ironically, how quick the game moves. A quick little tutorial box that the game gives you at the beginning as to what moves to use to clear the levels aren't terribly descriptive, and there's no real way to tell if you're doing it correctly once you're actually going to try it yourself. That's really the only major issue I have with the game so far, especially given that I'm quite new to games of this genre, so the way I meant to play isn't actually very clear to me yet. Closest thing I could compare this game to are Monster Hunter Rise and Code Vein, given the combos you can make, the sheer complexity of them, and the overall combat system and enemies. Personally, based on the very limited time I spent playing DMC5, I prefer the other two. However, I'm left with a want to play the story and the game more, to get not only more acquainted with the playstyle, but learn more about the game in general. The reason I prefer the latter two games of DMC5 at this stage is simply because of the fact that I am actually have some level of feedback in the game as what combos it is I have just completed or am in the process of doing. That said, a game like MHR also doesn't give you any UI indication as to what is going on with the enemy unless you've literally broken parts of its body. So while it is preferable to me, it's only a very, very slight edge. Code Vein, on the other hand, is significantly more difficult in the get-go from DMC5, in that pretty much anything can kill you immediately if you mess up badly enough. It's not quite as forgiving as DMC5, which leaves you on the edge pretty much constantly. That said, I did play DMC5 on a human difficulty rating, so I'd have to go back and play it on Demon Eater mode to know for sure how hard the game can actually be. The appropriate audience for this game is anyone who, first of all, enjoys Capcom titles. That's a given. Secondly, if you enjoy action RPGs, you'll probably enjoy playing DMC5, as at its core, that is precisely what it is. I would not recommend this game to anyone not yet a teenager, given the not so friendly language and some of the grotesque beings that you need to fight. But it's 2022, and I've personally seen 6-year-olds playing GTA Online. So unless you're a parent, I absolutely recommend this game for anyone to try. As a disclaimer, I don't actually recommend your children to play this. As far as design mistakes go, the only real issue I have with the overall experience is that the game takes up so many resources. That's all I really have to say on the matter. I think this game is absolutely worth the price. As a matter of fact, I was prepared to pay more money than I advertised. So far, the game plays a lot on the idea of killing demons and zombie-like creatures, so while that is quite popular, it'll be interesting to see how that core focus plays on as the game continues, which I personally think could prove to be a weakness in and of itself. That said, if you're looking for something fast-paced in a world that could be on the verge of apocalypse, look no further. This is it.